The idea wasn't to bring the horses up here. They're distracted.
Here we go, see? Woo!
Today we're going to talk about walls and slides. We're pretty sure we have concerns that we have a problem right here with where this wall is. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how this slide is built, how it's supported, how Lippert has specific OEM installation instructions that Grand Design apparently believes that they don't have to follow. I'm pretty sure that if you or I did something and installed this, they would completely and immediately void our warranty if we did not follow their instructions. But for some reason, Grand Design gets to do whatever they want. So we're going to talk about how this whole slide and everything that you put in it is held on by two little bitty wheels that are held on by a handful of pop rivets. It might be 4 wheels actually. We'll clear that up as we get into it. So one of the big things with this side is the only hole in the wall is for this window. This is significantly smaller than the giant opening that we'll talk about when we get to the slide on the other side. So when we put this, so it's a level, we're not looking at level, we're using it as a straight edge. There's no wobble, like I can't pick this up and rock it on any point. This wall is flat, moving up and down. We can do the same thing if you want to come over here. This side of the wall, it is flat. There's no wobble, there's no gapping. This wall, it's got a little wobble. This wall here, nice and flat. Square. This wall here, flat. This part of the wall, it's got a pretty good gap at the top. We're not going to specifically talk about that today, but boy, isn't that interesting. We're getting back towards the area we're talking about. Pretty flat. A little bit. But if it weren't for other problems, I wouldn't be concerned about this. We come up here on this side. This is kind of important. This side of the wall here, that's pretty flat. I can't rock it. I can't wobble it. Now let's come over here. This is the one we mentioned in an earlier video. But holy cow. So I've got this masking tape right here. That's where it pivots. This is me holding it flat against the bottom section of the wall. That's more than an inch out at the top. So right now I'm holding this flat with the upper portion of what we're talking about. And you can see the gap between the level and the wall. And coincidentally, that's almost the same exact gap that we've been complaining about between the trim and the wall itself. So during the first appointment, they just stuffed it full of silicone. There was no attempt to make any repairs. And this is where they said their check to see if there was any problems with this was to simply check if the slide goes in and out. So I want you to see how we've got this flush here. So we're saying this here is where the pivot point is in the wall. Sorry about the ponies. But as we go up, this gap gets larger and larger. But so you can't really tell, but it's at least out to here. So this is, I mean, I can fit my finger in here. So this is the gap. So I said an inch before, I guess it looks worse from down below. But this is the point, is that there is something going on in this wall right here. So another interesting thing as part of this OEM installation is it gives go, no go. It gives critical fails. And it talks about measuring the space and measuring the slide. This is pretty difficult for us to do as the consumers out here. But when it goes back, they're going to pull this slide. And part of our requests that they've agreed to is that they're going to check and they're going to measure this. So we're just going to use our framing square, and I put a little shim to match the gap that's created by the slide rail here, or the guide rail, the Schwintek rail. But so I'm just going to look, and we're going to check to see how square the slide is. So it's tough to see because of where the camera's at, but right now I've got right at about 3/4 of an inch up and down. So as far as this 22.5 inch framing square is concerned, this corner here is still square. So this side's a little different. So we've got just shy of 7/8 of an inch, but here again, just shy of 7/8 of an inch. So we're still square. So to me, this says that the slide itself is square and true. Now, why is that? Why are we talking about it? Here's why all of this matters. This is why we're putting this on. I want you to look at this here. So this is me pushing in on this slide here. You see how much? I mean, we can fold 1/2 inch of this seal off of here while it still touches. Now as we come down, so they've got this notch cut so you can kind of see. So it's less, but there's still plenty of this sweep seal that's touching this. For contrast now, we're on the rear side of this. This isn't even, I can push this entire sweep slide through. Sorry, the gimbal's in the way, I can't show you straight on. But that whole thing is flat. There's an air gap in here. So something's going on because the other side is way tight and this side is loose and coming down. So by the time you get below the track here, this is about the entire distance, the full width of the sweep slide. So it's actually contacting here. Up here it's not, there's an air gap. Up here it's not, there's an air gap. And as we come down, it gets progressively closer and closer. So as we come down the slide, this is better than the welding video because I used the gimbal, but I'm still not a pro. So look how much tighter and tighter and tighter it gets. Now down here to this space where we can still fold. This is me touching. So off of my fingernail to the rest of that, that's how much of the sweep seal is left. So the first question we need to ask is this how Grand Design built this trailer? So one of two things is true. Either this is how they built it and these were the decisions they made and the result of their quality checks, or as a result of our frame flex and the other problems that we've had, something has moved and something has shifted. Another thing I want to weigh in on is the idea of slide rollers. So I want you to pay attention. So there's one little wheel inside here. So it's a little plastic V-shaped wheel that rides in the groove of the Schwintek rail. Down here, same deal. So look at this one, we can peel back because this is actually broken. But in here, same deal. This one's at a pretty good camp. Again, little bitty rivets. This entire slide here, this closet slide in our case, is held up by those 4 little bitty plastic wheels that are pop riveted into whatever little aluminum structures here and the fiberglass walls. So a lot of this stuff we got from Todd and Sheila. Todd did a great video talking about how he installed the slide rollers. We got the pathway to the documentation. We're going to show pictures of this as we talk about it. But Lippert, from Lippert's website, from their documents talking of giving the OEM, so that's the original equipment manufacturers, this is their instructions on how to install these slide systems. It specifically calls for slide rollers at specific distances as you move across the bottom of the slide. Grand Design has chosen to omit that. If you or I would have installed this or done some aftermarket or second party installation and we did not do that, they would have voided our warranty immediately. I have no doubt. Why does Grand Design get to do things like this and just decide what they are and they are not going to include in their installations? Why is it okay for them to take this entire, what's this thing gotta weigh? A couple 100 pounds for sure. And then you're gonna put your clothes. It's got, ours has 6 drawers and an entire wardrobe across it. All of that rides on these little bitty plastic wheels. I brought this up to them in the emails. I provided them with a picture of how the rollers are supposed to be spaced. Their response to me was that the team on the service floor says they cannot install them after the RV is built. Okay, so another aspect that they give is they explain for the builders as OEMs when they're building these is before you put the slide in, you have to measure dimensionally. So you check corner to corner. And that's a pretty common way for builders or anybody that's used to this stuff. That's a great way to check for square, because if your square becomes some kind of polygon, then you're going to be longer one way than the other. So I would have to double check it. We'll get into this, but I think it's less than 3/8 of an inch. But so one of our deals when we go back is that they're going to remove this slide and do some checks and repairs and some seals and stuff. But when they do that, I want to know that this is still square, and I want to know what these dimensions are across there, because we're going to find out. Again, one of two things is true. Either they built it this way, or if this is a result of something else that's moved. So the other side, we just had the single window that was in this area here. Look at all that's left. The only wall structure that exists here, got some competition in the audio, is this little bit at the top. And then you have this small section here. So remember, look at our previous videos and look at what the cabinet movement was that we had. All of the structure that's in here. Somewhere in this plane, we had catastrophic, I guess you can't say catastrophic because they sent the trailer back. They said they could fix it, but you get the point. Something's moving in here in this plane. And all of that force, all of that moving is carried through these two little bitty spots. Well, the only thing here is really the frame rail carries in here. So it's probably the 3 tubes. So if you're familiar with it, it's 3 tubes. This one is empty and these two are stuffed with wood. But so that's probably what fills that entire gap as it comes along here. Somewhere in here, my guess is that so there's going to be a structure that moves up through here, and there's going to be some cross bracing somewhere. Now, whether that's here, which is kind of my suspicion, but I don't have a print, and I'm sure there's something that goes underneath the window. But my guess is that we have something broke right here that is bent, busted, or disgusted because of everything else. So I don't know what their answer is going to be, but it's obvious that we have a problem, and I don't know how they're going to fix it. And is it related to the rest of this? We're going to find out. There are people that say that their units come with these. There are people that say that they don't come with them. Like I said, I watched Todd and Sheila's video. He installs these in a campground. So why Grand Design says that they cannot install these as a, in their flagship state-of-the-art service center, that just boggles my mind. But there you go, see? So here's the screws. Remember me talking about that? Look at the threads you can see. I didn't have great photos before, maybe this will turn out. Look at how they installed that. And here again, let's just keep working with this. There you go. Look at this, that's my finger. They just packed this with silicone. And look at how, in here, this just gets wider and wider and wider. This is not a bend. This is a pretty significant piece of metal here. It's like this wall is diving back in. You want to tell me that's normal? Is this how you build stuff, Grand Design? Like, is this what comes from the factory? And then this is what you're going to say, yeah, you know what, it's good. We're sorry about it, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal to me. That's what I do too. There's a few other people, and I'm sorry, people are having trouble with cracks. I don't know if it's so much here, but specifically here. And I don't remember, maybe I'll figure out a link or I'll post a name, but there's a guy in our world, I think he's famous now, but he's the one, he had a big crack here. After he left the rally, and had frame flex fixed. Left there, made it X number of miles, and big crack. They brought him a loader trailer, showed up on the lettered Grand Design pickup truck, same crack. And just like Todd mentions, I think that it's pretty plausible that it has to do with movement and stuff as it moves through here, and or because this entire slide is carried on these two little pop rivets and that one little wheel. Why in the world would you put all of the weight on this, on these things? Especially when right behind here is this big box tubing. I don't know. We'll get some answers, maybe, I guess. I'll try to get some answers. That's all I can promise you. And I'll keep trying to make videos like this that kind of show and explain why we're watching for things. And why, for the most part, this is all just a bunch of hockey. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching.